So this one will be fun today. I've been traveling a bit and people have been asking me about hiring process. How do you find good people? How do you keep good people? It's funny because I have this process that I've kind of developed, but I've never actually, I don't think I've ever laid it out in a few steps. So we're gonna go over that a little bit today. And so if you're struggling with hiring good people, here's 5 steps that you can take to make sure that you're hiring the right people. So the first step that I always tell people is you have to slow down. You can't just throw warm bodies at it. And I think that's where a lot of people just naturally go, oh man, we need help, we need help, we need help. And especially when you're first starting a business, you just are like, man, we have so much work going on, we just need to grab people and you throw them into the mix. Problem is it's like the old merry-go-rounds, right? That you throwing people in and then they're flying off just as fast as you're getting them on. And you don't just want to throw warm bodies at it because it does a couple things. It messes up the culture that you have potentially, right? If you're just getting a warm body in there and they're just grumpy and complaining and they don't match your core values, it's not a good thing. So I guess step 0 would be make sure that you've got core values aligned. I'm not going to worry about that today. So number 1 is you need to slow down. Slow down your hiring process. There's an adage, don't remember where I heard it first, but I've heard it a bunch of times, that you need to hire slow and fire fast. Very true. So first one is slow down. The second one is you need to throw down a challenge. Throw down a challenge in some way that it makes it difficult for people to want to come to work with you. And what do I mean by that? So what I started doing with one of the companies is when people would come in for an interview, the first interview, great, just get to know you. And then I would either give them the book Extreme Ownership or I'd tell them about the book Extreme Ownership and ask them how long they think it would take to read the book. How long is this going to take you to read? And people would say, a week, 2 weeks. I say, great, then let's set up your second interview at that time. Because for a couple of reasons. One is that, when I grew up in Montana, I remember once that I bought a pickup on kind of a handshake deal for a friend in a completely different part of the state. And the guy gave me the keys and then I sent him money, or I can't remember which way it went, but it was interesting because it's like, oh yeah, there's just a high degree of accountability. I moved to Seattle, I found out that's not how most people operate. And so I learned that when I was in Seattle. Like, you have to give some sort of challenge for somebody so that they are serious about coming on the team. And it's definitely one of the strangest things, because people are like, well, I don't want to do this. It's like, great, that's fine. And obviously this makes sense when you're talking with somebody on the leadership team, somebody that's like in a C-suite. You need to have some sort of challenge that you're going to have them do to prove that they are actually who they say they are. One of my cousin's companies is called Nova Dynamics, and one of the things they did initially, if I remember correctly, is that they had a website that was a Linux prompt, and then you had to know how to write Linux to even figure out how to get on the site and then how to apply for it. If you don't know what Linux is, you're not going to work for that company. Or another one was, in a different company, they would misspell the URL. Like, yeah, just click on this link, and the link would be broken on purpose because they wanted to see who can problem solve and figure this out. And so, number 1, you got to slow down. 2, a good way to force yourself to slow down is, number 2 is you throw down a challenge. So number 1, slow down. Number 2, throw down a challenge. Number 3 is do your homework on them. Don't just, I'm amazed at how many people just don't Google the people. Don't, look them up on Facebook, on LinkedIn, or whatever platform. Do your homework on them and actually do their references and actually call those employers. And if they don't have references, it's a red flag. Because the problem is, if you're just like, oh man, I'm just getting good people. The problem with hiring bad people is that you take up space on your team for the good people that you could be hiring. I'm going to say that again. If you hire bad people, they're taking up space on your team for the good people and the A players that could be on your team. But you've used up resources in time, you've used resources in money, and if those people are not the right people for your team, it's going to drive you crazy. So do your homework on them. That's number 3. Number 4 is make your tryout period legit. Here's what I mean. in the state of Oregon anyway, where we hire a lot of people, we give people a 90-day probation period at our companies. And that 90-day probation period isn't just like, okay, yeah, after 90 days, you can expect this, blah, 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 blah. We set it up so we say, hey, you're trying out for this team. You got 90 days to prove to us that you're the player that we want. Because that first 90 days is the honeymoon period. People are going to be on their best behavior. They're going to do everything great in that first 90 days. And so you say, hey, here's the expectations. I want you to try out for this team. And if you make it, then you're going to be a full-fledged member of this team. And then that is the fifth step. Celebrate when they make the team. And so I'll pick on Illyrica and my buddy Adam. And Adam was great at doing this. And so at Illyrica, the internet company, we would talk about people becoming Illyricans. Not just team members, they became Illyricans. And so we say, hey, we've got 90 days to try you out to see if this is going to work for you. You're trying out for a team. And if you make the team, then you're now an official Illyrican. Because what do you put more weight on? You know, if you grew up playing sports, do you put more weight on trying out for a pickup game? You don't try out for a pickup game. You just show up. People throw teams together and you play. Yeah, you don't put that much weight in it. You show up if you want to, whatever. But if you're trying out for a professional team, or you're trying to make the A squad or varsity or whatever, you take that more seriously. You train more intently. And so I think the way that you posture yourself when you're in those interviews is that you are trying out for a team, and we're going to celebrate you once you make the team. So the 5 things. So if you're struggling with hiring good people, here are the 5 things you need to do to create the process to make sure that you're hiring the right people. The number 1, slow down. Number 2, throw down a challenge. Number 3, do your homework on them. Number 4, make your tryout period legit. Communicate it that way, that people are trying out for a team. And then number 5, when they make the team, celebrate it, because it elevates the game of everybody else that's on the team with you.